Hello, Tom Lavecchia here with the latest edition of the New Theory podcast. We have a very, I'm going to throw a third very special guest today, Lindsey Neff, who is the proprietor of, and I'm going to make sure I say this correctly, Lindsey. It is Larkspur Botanicals based out of New Jersey. Lindsey, welcome to New Theory podcast. How are you doing today?
Good, doing great. Yeah, you got it. Thanks so much for having me on. It's a real pleasure.
Pleasure is ours. Okay, so give us a little background. Give us where'd you grow up and give us your formative years and what made you get into the botanical business?
Sure. So I kind of moved around, grew up all over. Born in New York. I say raised in New Jersey, but really lived all over.
Okay.
And I've always just gardened. My mom had a landscape design business growing up. She managed plant nurseries. A lot of people in my family had landscaping businesses or were just avid gardeners. So it just kind of continued on with me. But decided back in 2014 to start Larkspur Botanicals, left the day job. And
what were you doing?
You're going to die. So I used to work at a private investigative firm in Manhattan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So I did business development for them and audio visual editing and enhancement. And before that I worked in
business development. What do you do with like salty, like partners you're trying to catch their ex, or was it more corporate, or who was a clientele?
Sure. Yeah, it was a mix of both. We would do background checks, due diligence checks for, people that were going to be doing mergers or any sort of business dealings, or of course, the more salacious matrimonial, cheating spouses, family law. So yeah. So that was the last previous life, which seems like forever ago. But
I have a question about that, and you got to forgive me.
Shoot.
So family law is huge for hiring PIs, right?
Yeah.
But the part I don't get is if you see X, Y, and Z, as I understand, it's not admissible in court. So what's the reason for doing it? I just never understood.
It's more based on intelligence and just kind of knowing
the strategy.
Yeah. And that's kind of what it goes into. You can't really record someone in their home or anything like that. No. But it's more just to kind of find out. So you figure out like, all right, clearly we have a problem, or maybe we don't. Maybe we've actually done cases where it was like, they thought it was a cheating problem, but it was really like a really bad gambling problem.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
I wonder which is worse, an emotional or fiduciary estrangement. All right, let's get back on track. Sorry, I just asked some weird questions. All right. So with that being said, though, you probably bring a lot of these analytical skills into your business. Background, have a green thumb. You start Larkspur Botanicals. Did you start as a brick and mortar? Did you start as an event company? Walk us through the foundation and what was your plan going in?
Yeah. So originally I started Larkspur Botanicals as a complete side hustle. I just needed a creative outlet from the grind of working in Manhattan at a PI firm. It can get quite dark. I was good at what I did and I enjoyed doing it, but I just wanted to do something else. So I started this thing as a side hustle, and very quickly it grew into me using all of my like paid time off and just taking off to do bridal expos and get prepared for events and weddings. It was pretty much weddings based was how I started. And then eventually it just kind of came to a head where it's like, I could leave my job and do this full time. And that was what happened.
So when you say wedding, you do like centerpieces, you do the bridal bouquets and like for the day of, correct?
Oh yeah. I mean, centerpieces, we always say we do out of the vase stuff. So we're kind of more known for those large installations, like those big elaborate arbors, flower walls are really big. And then we do all the small stuff.
Yeah. So, okay. So important question, because with what we're dealing with, I'm not going to say the C word because I don't want to get, it's hard. I'm not monetizing this video, but when you say the C word, 19, what happens is it tends to get like flagged and it doesn't get as optimized. So I'll just leave that word to the side.
That's fine.
But one of the things, and I got out of coaching and mentoring, not that I love mentoring and I try to do it for free, but I got out of coaching and that kind of stuff because I'm busy, right? But when I used to coach or develop people, is I would say, hey, if you were at your side hustle and you could replace 60% of your income, that's when you could leave, because you'll make up to 40% because you'll have more time. You don't have to give the numbers you made, but what percentage of your income was coming from the side hustle that you were able to say, hey, you know what, let me turn that switch?
So it definitely wasn't 60%. I would say it was actually 30.
Wow.
But, yeah. But you got to keep in mind, I don't know, maybe this sounds sappy. Money can't buy happiness. And I was working in Manhattan, and I was, married and pretty much never home ever again. And worked long hours, didn't feel fulfilled. And that's just no way to live. So once I saw that we were gaining traction just for like a side hustle, I was like, you know what? I'm like, I think we're at the point where we were just getting a lot of good press and a lot of good feedback and just booking more and more clients, not even paying for advertising, just organically through Instagram. I was like, you know what? This is on a good trajectory. And I mean, it was 7 years ago, and we haven't looked back. We pivoted and went into corporate events. So we started.
We're going to get there. We're going to get to the pivot.
Sorry, no, not even the COVID pivot. I'm talking about.
Oh, so hold on. Oh, so you had an initial pivot. Okay, so hold on.
Breaks.
So you started as a weddings. Give us the corporate pivot then. Give us the first pivot.
Yeah. So after about a year or two of doing all weddings, I started getting into more corporate interest. We became known for our flower walls in the area. So we had a lot of liquor companies approach us about our flower walls. Like we did the Kentucky Derby for Woodford Reserve. They sponsored the Derby. So we did. Yeah. So we did.
You actually went down to Kentucky, or you did something up here?
No, in Manhattan. We did we did like 10. There was like 10 parties that were all across Manhattan by Woodford Reserve. We did all of their flower walls, Jack Daniels. And kind of it snowballed, and I discovered that I loved doing corporate events. Still like doing wedding events, but I enjoy corporate events a lot more. We've had some really great clients. We've done Disney. We did 2,500 flower crowns for the Bustle Festival that was hired through Disney for us to do. Other cool clients we've had, Bloomingdale's.
Wait, hold on. I wanna, because I don't want to go too far ahead, because we have some people that are listening, and I want to unpack and make sure we go step by step to document your success and celebrate it, but also people that are watching and listening on audio could really kind of say, that's where I'm at. So you were Instagram first. You were very visual, I assume, and very good aesthetic. You were Instagram first in terms of your promotion, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You mentioned press. Was this earned media, meaning people that came to you and said, hey, we want to feature you? Or did you employ a publicist at the time?
So I was my own acting publicist.
Wow.
Yeah. So I reached out to like 201 magazine has always been very good to me. View magazine always been very
Jason.
And just pretty much reached out and said, hey, like this is what we're doing. This is why we're cool. So check our stuff out. When we were working with Fresh Cut Flowers, now we do more faux, which you can see above.
Yeah.
We were sourcing locally through farms in the area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, and year round we source domestically. So that means we're not shipping peonies, big flowers for viewers.
The box is from Ecuador that lasts like 5 years, but you can't take them out of the box.
Yeah. So we weren't doing that. So it was a very different thing. So, we were able to, pick up press pretty easily and just,
So you got some earned media, and one lesson here, everybody, is typically, and I like your answer, is when I talk to people that do their own press, it's generally after they got screwed by a publicist, because you pay $2,500 a month, and the first thing out of their mouth is, we can't promise anything. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. So usually I like the fact that you cut out that part of the dummy tax. What's your biggest mistake in the beginning that you made? Maybe the most either financial or opportunity cost, or your biggest F up in the beginning?
My biggest F up in the beginning, I think, was saying yes to everything. Every styled shoot that knocked on, like styled, I don't know if you're familiar in the industry, but I guess I'll break it down.
Not really.
Okay. So styled shoots are pretty much where a bunch of vendors, like let's say wedding centric vendors, come together, photographer, makeup artist, dress company,
like a team, and they do like events, right? And then it's to market your products and your wares for those particular things. Okay.
So, I said yes to pretty much every single person that reached out to me to do that, which, you know, for someone who owns a wedding dress, you know, company, they have the dress, they can do a million styled shoots. They have the dress already.
Correct.
They're clipping the backs, but
for your stuff dies.
Yeah. For a florist, you have to do all fresh, you know, installations over and over again. So I was, you know, spending a lot of money and maybe wasn't getting the returns that I wanted with the, say, the product, you know, the actual photos, things like that. You know, every like person who was having an event was like, oh, you should throw in this, that, or the other thing, because it'll be good. And I'm sure we'll probably touch on this, quote unquote, exposure. Every entrepreneur's friggin' scariest word ever.
Yes. Tell me when you could pay your mortgage with exposure. But anyway, we'll get to that. And awareness is part of the puzzle. But I actually feel like you worked part-time. You did a whole bunch of Instagram. You got a good little bit of a groundswell lots of time. You did some local PR. So that covers your awareness, right?
Yeah.
You maybe put too many resources into doing these fluff events. They didn't pan out, right? But then you started corporate. Give me your first like corporate gig. How did you find it? And then how did you kind of become corporate regulars, if you will?
Sure. So I'm very much, you know, into getting coffee with people. If someone asks me to get a cup of coffee, even another florist, I'll say, yeah, sure, let's do it. So that's it. So I started having cups of coffee. Either people found me on like LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook, or just heard through someone else, or just an introduction, you know, the power of networking.
They heard you like coffee, or are they just kidding?
I do like coffee.
Yeah, me too. I just had some.
Dreams and caffeine. That's me. So yeah, just starting to meet with different event planners, and then they would get events, and then other event planners that would follow them on Instagram would be like, wow, who did that awesome flower wall for Brugal rum? It's amazing. It's tropical and cool. And then other event companies would start calling us. So that's like, it's like part social media network, but also part actually sitting across from someone and making a connection network.
Yeah.
And that's how it started. And it really just snowballed from them. Because if you do with these large, you know, event companies, if you do, you know, Jack Daniels, you're also doing Partita Tequila and all the other ones that are affiliated in their umbrella. So
okay, so you networked. Okay, so that's another learning. So you networked, you got bigger and bigger, and you had different like kind of call points, meaning maybe a planner may be retained and you may be that vendor, or maybe the customer itself, you may be a direct vendor. One of the things that I understand, and I could be wrong, but I think I'm right on this, in like the event, wedding, and that space, it's like a little dicey. It's like, hey, I want to do this. And they're like, great, you know, we'll do this event, but you know, we're going to take a cut because we're recommending you, or, hey, we're going to partner up to be this conglomerate. But you're like, there's a lot of like, for lack of a better word, shakedowns in my experience. Did you run into that? And if so, how did you handle it? Yeah, and I'm not saying shakedowns because some are appropriate, referral fees and vendor fees and slotting fees. And I get all that, but I just kind of felt like that space, and I don't know if it's as much in the flowers, but like the videography, the photography, a lot of that stuff to me just felt a little dicey. If I'm wrong on that, you're welcome to hit the wrong button. If I'm right, and if you experienced it, please share me your experience.
You know, I've got great stories about both ways, you know. I've worked with event companies that I won't ever work with again, because it's not, you know, we're just not on the same wavelength. I mean, we don't, and that's it. And I think that's just life in general, you know. There's just some people that you vibe with, and then you work with them, and you guys do great work for many years together. And then there's other people that you do one or two events with, and you're like, yeah, I'm good. But you know, there's definitely kickbacks in the, you know, in the industry, but you know, that's, I don't know. You have to stand your ground. I mean, sure, there, you know, people can throw out outrageous numbers, but then you can kind of smile and laugh at it. And then we actually have a real conversation, you know, and it's just almost like a little bit of a test and a little bit of a pissing match, you know.
That makes sense.
Say that on your...
I love that. I love that expression.
Sorry.
So, no, we didn't say the F-bomb and we didn't say the C word, so we're good. So, okay. So with that being said, though, okay, so now you're growing, you're cooking, and we're not talking about the C word yet. What I also see with entrepreneurs, even myself, now you're like top line. Oh my God, I did the best month ever. And oh my God, I'm killing it. And I'm owed this 90-day terms and I'm doing all this great stuff, you know? And then like after everything's like paid, you're like, fuck, I didn't make any money. Like, so like, how did you, like, were you always kind of good financially? Have your QuickBooks? Were you always kind of good? So when like you got more business, you were disciplined, your margins were good, or did you make a whole bunch of money and then realize you weren't making a lot of money and then adjusted? Walk me through that iteration.
Yeah. So I don't know about with every single industry or not, but
Yeah.
the floral design industry, we're very much like rah, like you can do it. I'm
Yeah.
part of a lot of national groups.
Yeah.
And so there's a florist out there who actually gives classes on florist, like flower math.
Yeah.
I think that's what she calls it. And it's how to charge so you can actually like live.
Correct.
Because most florists really don't know how to charge.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the first 2 years, I was just like, I don't even understand. Like sometimes I would kill it and then sometimes I wouldn't.
Yeah.
And that comes with experience. Also, you know, you have to fit. I don't know. There's a lot of different.
Well,
like,
you got to count for spoilage. You got to count for
yeah,
shipments that are
20%.
dead on arrival.
Yeah. And then
What's the percentage on something like that?
For spoilage, I always
Yeah.
order 20% more than what I need.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But that's always factored into like the
The
everything.
number. The
Yeah.
number.
And I do that because things fail. Roses can shatter. That's where all their petals fall off.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you get a bad batch, and sometimes it's good to just have those little extra things because there's always that client that's like, oh, whoops, I wanted to order that one other thing, and now you're scrambling.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah. So I took her course, anyways, going back to the math, flower math. And that really helped and really opened my eyes. And it honestly it's just really like, it's standing your ground and it's saying like, no, even though I could do this in an hour, it's taking me 7 years to figure out how to do it in an hour. I'm worth this money.
Correct.
And really just,
you're not paying for the hour. You're paying for the fact that you're able to get it done in an hour.
Right.
Same thing for like barbery or in certain type of anything for that matter. Plastic surgery. You know, like if somebody takes 20 minutes to do an operation, but it took them 15 years to get to that point. And you're right, that's what you're paying for. So yeah. agree with you on that. Okay, so you were smart. Again, another learning. We're smart enough because that's the other, a lot of entrepreneurs are like, I can do everything myself and I don't need to learn. But the fact that you took a course, you learned your numbers, you learned your margins, that kind of stuff. So then you kind of calibrated, right? When did you start to get it? Like when did you start to hit your stride? When did you start making money? When did you maybe not have to work as much? Maybe start delegating a little bit. I know it's probably still never come, but when, because I'm going to be on my 10-year anniversary soon. And I don't think I get it, but other people do. Cause I had some iterations and stuff, and some life stuff happened, but I'm starting to get it, I think. So after 10 years, so do you think, like, what point did you get it?
I would say probably 2018. That's when kind of we really hit our stride with corporate events, and we were doing like weekly and multiple events weekly for, you know, big names, and it just kind of kept going on, and we became known for the flower wall and for floral flourishes, which are like asymmetrical, free form, kind of something like this behind me, but a lot bigger. So nobody else really was calling anyone else for those. And, you know, I just, you know, that's kind of where it started. And then honestly, I mean, it's entrepreneurship is like, yeah, I'm killing it. And then it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing. And then it's like, wait, no, I do. And it's a roller coaster ride. Do we ever know?
Was your peak of income in 19?
My peak, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's cut to it. The COVID hits.
Yeah. Okay, so I made a lot of, we're talking about mistakes. So I love Shark Tank. I watch it religiously, but one of my biggest mistakes was I had pigeonholed myself to be completely events based. I mean, let's just say 95% events based. That other tiny little 5% was, you know, retail, like, you know, type of stuff, like clients would order special order, like things for their house, like mounted orchids we do. And also interior installations, permanent installations. So for example, we did vertical moss gardens, preserved moss gardens for Neiman Marcus in Garden State Plaza.
Oh, wow.
So that was a permanent installation. But it was a very small percentage of my business. We did like a couple spas here and there. So when COVID hit, and I like remember sitting down in like April and realizing like we don't have any events, and that's it. And that's when like panic set in. So I went into my notebook. I have a notebook of crazy ideas. I don't know if you have one too. I think a lot of
They're up
entrepreneurs.
here, but I'm also
Yeah.
a lot of other craziness up here too, but that's not.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, now that my schedule has been wiped out for me and events, like I wasn't one of those event people that are like, okay, we're just going to get back to it. I'm like, if we're not back to it in 2 weeks, then things are bad and it's time
Well,
to like really
I'm a little fascinated with the event in a sec. I don't want to deviate too much, but I'm super fascinated by the event space and how things kind of panned out. Where I'll use halls, for example, right? Halls have always been historically very obtuse, inflexible, and frankly annoying, right? You pay $250 for Chateaubriand on a Saturday, and it's not even that good, right? So what's interesting is in a lot of people that booked weddings, and was interesting. So making this up, it's Saturday in April, making this up, right? It wasn't like, hey, we're not going to have your wedding, and then we'll book it out in a year. That's fine, and we'll book it out in April and Saturday. The halls were like, no. You pay for this Saturday. If you want another Saturday, and I'm like a business person, so if you came to me and was like, oh, okay, I get it. It's a future Saturday. You don't lose your revenue. What's the differential? Some halls were like, no differential. You got to pay full freight. And they're like, well, wait a second. I paid you already for the hall here. And they're like, no, you can do it for comparable, but it's got to be like on a Monday. And they got you by the, So like, I just like, and like, I felt like with halls, there's two dynamics going on. It's good. Forgive me for a second. Because this is like my tangent. I very rarely go on tangents on these things. But I got to go to tangent on this. Number one, their business model is being disrupted because large events, and you picked up on this, I could tell, large events, no matter with COVID or without COVID, are a challenge. I don't care. I'm not going to like a weekend concert anytime soon. I don't really want to go to a 200-person indoor wedding anytime soon. Vaccinated, not vaccinated. I just don't have an appetite for it. I think they're a challenge. Number two, culturally, I'm an Italian American. My first wedding was $120,000 all in. I don't see younger people having an appetite for that. They're a little smarter now. I don't be like, well, back in my day, but like, it's like that. Like, it's just like, you could put that towards a house and other stuff. So like in all of that, I thought the halls were going to be more flexible and kind of be like, hey, wait a second, we're screwed. This is our chance to maybe pivot ourselves. They didn't. And they're still doing okay. And people are still doing weddings and stuff. But I just think I predict in like 3 to 5 years, these big halls are done. But I don't know where you sit on that. And I don't want to say anything negative because they might be clients of yours and you might partner with them. But anyway, so how did you pivot? That's my tangent. Anybody who watches or listens to the show, 300 episodes almost. This might have been my second tangent. So sorry, Lindsay.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I've had a couple of weddings in big halls. We aren't really known for those big hall style weddings. That's not really our aesthetic. We're more wild and undone.
Yeah.
But the ones that I do have a few, and we are still kind of having scheduling issues, and I'll say that and leave it there.
What about really quick though, because like on one end, so I have, and that's kind of how we linked up, is I have a magazine as part of our portfolio, New Jersey Digest. And on the advertising side, we got spanked. I'm talking like, how do you charge somebody for advertising when they're not open, right? So, and I followed the high road. Like if like one person, like in like, again, 10 years, only had 2 bills that were never paid. One was somebody, I think they died. And then the other one was a restaurant that we're supposed to charge for March and April. I couldn't charge for April because they were closed, right? My point being is on the advertising side, we got spanked, right? And there was nothing we could do about it. And we decided as a team, and I decided as an entrepreneur, to take the high road, even if we were in contract, even if it was owed, even if I had your credit card, even if it was signed in blood. I just felt, to be honest, the customers didn't also act super ethically either. I got to be honest, when things like tough times don't build character, reveals it. So a lot of businesses were like, well, we're not paying you. And I'm like, well, wait a second. Like, you got to pay me for at least what was done. Not, I'll let you out of your contract. What I'm saying is I followed my heart and my gut and ethics, but then I almost went broke. So like, how did you handle, hey, here's your down payment and here's your event? And like, did you like give returns? Did you keep, like, just walk me through all that? Cause I want to see how you handled it and then we'll get to your pivot.
so with our corporate clients, we had like 3 events slated with a brand. I'm not going to say who, but big brand. And they called, canceled, and we had to refund them their money because they were very big.
Screw that. I thought it'd be the opposite. Screw that.
I mean, listen, they have a better legal team than I can have. So
that's
it. I didn't want to piss them off.
Were they pressing you for the money?
They just made it very clear that we weren't going to be doing those 3 events, and to subtract my time, like for walkthroughs, things like that, back and forth. But then return the remaining portion, and they are a big client.
So what's your, so before we get to the other stuff, what's your learning there? Should you maybe invested in a tighter contract on your side that might have protected yourself, or was your contract good and it's like anybody can kind of sue for what they want? Just I'm interested to hearing that.
I think my contract's pretty good. I put it together, but then I sent it over to an attorney who then did their magic. And I think that a contract is, meant to be like evolved over time and like looked into. It's not like you should have the same contract that you had 10 years ago. We're constantly reinventing the wheel, and we definitely have had to add some things in, based on the C-19 time. So you handle
that, give them money back. But what was the general census? How did you handle it?
I was annoyed at first, but I said, you know what, they're paying me for what I've done already. And I charge them for all my time, walkthroughs, and then honestly, the world is going to open back up again. And I was lucky enough where I was like, okay, I had put enough nest eggs away. On a sidebar, I pretty much in January, took a maternity leave and had my second daughter, who is now
oh my God. So you had a baby right before the pandemic hit full swing.
Yeah. January.
Yikes. I had a baby in July, and you go in the room, you can't leave, no visitors. Like you can't leave the room. Like we stayed there we stayed there one day because we had nothing to do there. Like it was bad. Like and it was just bad.
So my whole thing was like, listen, the world will eventually open up. I didn't think it was going to take over a year, but the world will eventually open up. I still want to do events for them, and I'm going to give them back. It's not going to kill me to give them back their money.
Yeah,
and that was it. And same thing. We did not have a single wedding cancel and ask for their money back or anything. All of our weddings, they either did an outside event, changed venues, every single person, it just kind of rolled over. And there's only like 2 weddings that we haven't like either done or I'm going to do this round, which is like right around the corner. And then that was it. We just kind of transferred it over. Yes, I lost like money and time because I had to visit new sites and redo the look, stay on the phone. Sometimes like we had one couple that changed it like 4 times.
Wow.
Like, it was crazy.
I heard some stories. Oh, I had an echo. Hold on. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So I heard some stories where things got pushed out, and they got pushed out so much. There was a lot of stress around COVID that some of the couples actually broke up. So they didn't even go through with the wedding, not because of the timing, but because they broke up. I don't think it was a big incidence, but I just heard some stories around that. And that I think happens anyway in the whole business. All right. So let's deeper dive about your pivot. So you you just had a child, God bless. And you're, planning, hey, you're going to, hopefully spend some bonding time and then get back to work when you deem appropriate, obviously. When was that? And then like, that's right before C word. And then what happened? And then how did you pivot? And let's get to the good stuff.
Okay, cool. So I was still on maternity leave. I came back off of maternity leave March.
Okay.
We did a small event in March, which was like one of the last few events that we could do. I think it was March 5th. And then after that, like it seems like a week later, the whole world closed down.
Now, Lindsey, if you don't mind me asking, you're comfortable sharing this or not, are you your business? So like when you're out of pocket for 90 days, is it a respite for the business, or do you have people that kind of continue the operations, but you were just off the day to day?
No, I have people that continue the operations, but there is no such thing as like a true maternity leave. Like I
know
emails all day and reachable, FaceTiming with like my newborn on me. I mean, I worked up until like the day before, like on FaceTime.
Yeah. I got it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have a small staff, but for some of the big productions that we've done, you would think that we'd have, 40, 50 people on staff,
Yeah.
and we don't. We had 10 at our peak before COVID.
So let's just assume, sake of discussion, March or probably whenever, and you could get that time. You kind of crapped the bed. So give me that period that like revenue really got hit, and then how did you pivot?
Yeah. So, I don't know. I feel like Chicken Little, the sky is falling at all times.
Yeah.
So I wasn't like, I just kind of, I feel like the beginning of April, I said, okay, we've waited this out for a few weeks now, a couple weeks, and life is not getting better. It's seemingly getting worse. And what are we going to do? Because I think Facebook had canceled all their events like all the way through 2021. So I knew once Facebook made that public that every single event company was going to follow suit and everything. So I said, forget events. We're going to pour everything we have into permanent installations, because essential businesses, I mean, I live in the burbs. So landscapers were still rocking during everything. And so funny, I had registered my business as a landscaping company.
Oh,
when
wow.
I first
Well, you mentioned
started.
that earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, because I enjoy gardening and things like that, and landscaping. And I thought maybe I wanted to do more with that.
Did you start like mowing lawns, mowing and blowing? What did you do?
No, so everyone got really into gardening, right? So we did like planters, like these mojito style planter boxes with like different types of mints and strawberries, and we were dropping them off everywhere. I reached out to every interior designer that I knew, ever touched base with, and said, hey, we do permanent installations. All those moss walls that you're like ordering from crazy places, we build them right here, custom. And that's when
you kind of either linked up with, or were like a de facto landscape architect in a way. I don't know if
yeah, it's, I don't know, a lot of hats, a lot of faces,
and then from a business perspective, did it, replace some revenue? Did you have lower overhead because, things were like not as crazy? Like I want to feel like the effect on the top and bottom line, meaning we were 80% of top line, we had 100%, 50%. And then in terms of the bottom line, were you around the same? Like, if you could just give a little color to that.
Yeah. I mean, no, I mean, our corporate events, it's,
we're big money.
We're still not caught up, but compared to other florists that I know who have called me and said, hey, do you want to buy our inventory? Because we're out.
Yeah. Some people were wiped out. Like it got hit.
So, my whole thing is I could sit here and be like, well, we made about half of what we did.
That's fantastic though.
It is fantastic. It is, but what we've had to do, most of the people that we had working for us moved away from the area.
That's the other thing we don't talk about enough. It's like, if you want to hire somebody now,
oh my God,
like if you're a landscaper, or if you're in design, and if you're like in an entry level position and you got to hire somebody, there's no people available for a few reasons. One, they moved away. Number two, to this day, you can make $600 a week in Jersey sitting at home and not working. So, you kind of have that ethical dilemma, but people do it. And then the third, it's just, then they need these people that are qualified, like you're like someone specialized in what you do, very specialized. So you can't just hire like Tom, Dick, and Harry off the street. So, okay. So you got the permanent installations, you started pivoting to different services, but then you started to like kind of cook again, right? Like I just, learned you give a little bit about your story on Instagram, and I've been trying to follow you a little bit. And it seems like, things are starting to come around a little bit and starting to cook. So is it corporates like is probably not back yet? So what are you working on now? And give us, some of the good stuff. And more importantly, how specifically did you do it? You hustled. We got that part. Sure. Let's start with that. Okay. You hustled. We got that. You made some new connections. You got that. But unpack a little bit more how you really, really got through it in hindsight.
Okay. So once we started doing the permanent installations, just observing, everybody started spending money on house plants. And a lot of people wanted just everything to look more beautiful, right? Yeah. Including, some people had, before COVID, had already slated to be opening up businesses, doing renovations. So all that stuff for them went on as business as usual. Yeah. So they decided, hey, we really want to make photo moments, social media moments, hashtag Pixar didn't happen moments. And when anyone went out, like, I don't know about you, but like, going out to a restaurant, going out anywhere to get anything has become more of an event now. Yeah. So to make it eventful, you want to make it look great and you want people to share. So that's what started happening for us is we did one floral flourish on the side of a building for Trina's Treats. And it's a like bespoke little sweet shop in Lyndhurst. And I went like hog wild with it. I said she wanted to do something in a budget. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go extra on this because I know if I do this and I do this right, everybody's going to want something like
Smart.
this.
It's a marketing expense. I love it.
Yeah. And that's what I did. We went hard, and she has a great social following also. So she posted one picture and then I promoted the hell out of it on Instagram. I threw like more money than I ever had. I never really did paid promotion ads, which is kind of silly. So I think I spent I threw like maybe $200 on this one ad and fine tuned it down to,
Yeah. Did you get anything from it?
Oh my God. Yeah. We got so many DMs and requests, and we're still fulfilling that business from that one promotion because people still have had to do build outs and, get walls up to even have anything. Yeah. And then I learned with the response that I got from doing that one Instagram advertising, like paid promotion, I have been doing all paid promotions on every single one that I felt was very compelling.
Yeah.
And that would have already, I guess, trended well. I'm new at all this social stuff. I spent a lot of time in quarantine reading about, social media and taking
digital marketing, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's what I did behind the scenes. And I feel like that helped because it kind of gave me a whole new set of tools to kind of work my way around this whole new world, which is, I had to set up an online shop. We started doing retail stuff. So this was all new stuff for me. But it, going back to, the revenue streams and also touching on our first thing about like money and happiness. Yeah. I was stuck doing projects and I love the event space, but I had like this moment of clarity where I hustled so hard to try to get these corporate clients. I wanted the name drop clients. I wanted to be able to tell people like you, Tom, okay, we've done things for Bloomingdale's, Neiman Marcus, Disney. These are all companies everyone's heard of. Yeah. But we haven't done anything for any of our corporate national companies that we fought so hard to get business from. It's been the support of small businesses, fellow small businesses, that have propelled us into our next revenue stream. And even when events do come back, and they will, we're still going to have a whole new revenue stream that we didn't have before. So I'm not counting my losses. I'm getting ready for what's going to happen next.
Well, why don't we give you a chance to say some thank yous? Who are some of the smaller people that you worked with that you just want to say thank you? Joe's Tire Shop or whatever.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So let's see. So the first one is Trina's Treats in Lyndhurst. She's fantastic. Okay. She does a lot of
on Ridge Road.
I live my life by Google Maps.
I just think like Lyndhurst is just one long Ridge Road. But anyway, that's not a story.
I had never been. And then Blush Studios, which is they do lashes and stuff like that. All things beautiful. Hemp and Honey in Edgewater. They were a new business and they had this AC unit in front of their cute, adorable shop that they hated. And we covered it with like really awesome, like commercial grade cannabis leaves and greenery. Wow. And it created a photo moment from what was an eyesore to them.
Wow.
So they're amazing. By Veronica Photography. She wanted like a facelift to her photo studio. Melissa Gorga, hello.
Yeah. You've done a lot with her.
Yeah. Snooki also, we went to her shop. Who?
Is it cool?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, the Snooki shop. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, we're doing we have so many projects in the works coming out too, which I'm excited about.
Well,
I could go on and on. Seriously.
Well, you are very intelligent, very level-headed. In your space too, it's easy to get sucked into the whole exposure influencer thing. Just give me this, and I'm gonna send it to my 678,000 followers, and the media value is $7,000. So just like you would charge $5,000. So it's neat. Like, did you get sucked into that a little bit, admittedly, or did you say, or you were like, you were smart, you stayed away, and walk us through that.
I've already went down that road before, right? with other, with exposure and publicity and all. I mean, there's so many stories about that. That can be a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
So no, but what I did find is that we've been every single like floral flourish that we've installed in some capacity. We have just been each other's hype people. Like they're hyping me, I'm hyping them. and that's what's going on. And then like another place, the Cottage in Jersey City, that was huge. New business, opened it up in the middle of COVID. We did the whole front of her building, and then she had this cool back patio, but like, you know, starting a business, you run out of like funds and you have to like allocate. So I said, let's partner on this. Let's collaborate. Okay. Cause I love this back patio space. So we pretty much just took the reins with it, and it became my own like living installation. We can do endless amounts of like outdoor workshops, which have been wildly popular. She doesn't take a cut of that. And we are also started booking events for them.
Oh, wow.
Outdoor events, 25, 35 people max, private, open air. We have the ability to tent it if we need to, and it's completely styled. It's all floral installations. There's a floral bike. Here's a floral backdrop. And those like type of partnerships, it's so much different than say working for a Bloomingdale's. Here's your check. That's it. With small businesses, it really.
And I'm going to venture to guess, don't get me wrong, I am not going to be like naive and say, you know, Bloomingdale's, and respectfully, you can charge 8 to 10x or whatever more on cost, and it's very profitable. Let's call it what it is, right? But I'm confident that if you did what I call a gross to net, or it's called a gross to net, where you look at the gross by Bloomingdale's, the extra part-timers you had to hire to cover the event, you got to pay them more because they're ad hoc. Yeah, spoilage, you know, the terms, they you do get that big check, but you got it 120 days later and you had to borrow this from that. Like, if you think truly, and the time, the effort, the stress, the conference calls, to come into New York and not get reimbursed for the $400 that you spent to get there and back, you know, and have lunch, right? So when you kind of take all that and then you net it, you know, the dry cleaning, because you had to wear whatever, you kind of take all that and net it down versus the smaller events, net it down. Obviously Bloomingdale's is more, but if you look at the utility and economics, the utility and the happiness that you derive from that person. And I haven't the pleasure of meeting the female entrepreneur over at Hemp and Honey. I see her all the time.
Oh, Dana's lovely. You have to go.
I haven't had the pleasure, and I love entrepreneurs. I love female entrepreneurs. I have 3 sisters. One of my sisters runs my business, my other business with me. She's an entrepreneur, and just, I love it, you know? But with that being said, though, like the fulfillment you get by helping people with their business, and you are like a modality. And it's interesting because pre-COVID, yikes. Okay. We're like 5 years now. Pre-C, don't worry. We have a lot of friends, so we'll send to all of our friends. We'll do some hot clips. You said some good sound bites, so we'll get to where it needs to go. So, but with that being said, though, pre-C, it was about experience, right? It was like, I did like escape rooms. You go to different events and all this stuff, and it was about you being in the movies, not part of the movies, right? But when COVID came, those experiences were gone, right? But you hit the nail on the head, and this is what's going to make you even wealthier, is the experience is just to go out to grab something to eat. The experience is going to get some CBD oil from Hemp and Honey. The experience is to go to get your dog washed and your cat cleaned at the local whatever. You get what I'm saying? So like the experience went away from the bigger stuff and the experiential marketing, all that kind of stuff, to everything day to day has to be experienced. And the smarter entrepreneurs are going to employ you to help gain that experience better, so people are comfortable, they feel safe, and then they're going to spend their hard-earned money with those places. So I think I get the pivot. I love it and I get it. So what are you doing now? Like, give me like what's going cooking now? Without giving too much away, what do you got cooking in the future? And what does the next year or so look like for you?
Gosh, so we are doing a ton of installs at different restaurants in the area. We've expanded our reach. We're like tomorrow, we're going down to Point Pleasant to do an install at like a high-end salon that's opening up.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I went up to like over by like the Hamptons area and did another like a high-end makeup studio. So we've just kind of been traveling. I'm in talks with possibly going to North Carolina for another makeup studio.
Oh, wow.
So it's been really cool. Started going through my notebook. I, sent away for a couple of patents that I've been kind of putting off, a couple of trademarks on a couple of like trade related things. Just like things to make your life easier as a florist.
Yeah.
So it's, it's been nice. And, going back to those large scale events, they are very stressful. They're very hectic. It's a lot of work for a 4-hour, 5-hour, 6-hour event.
Yeah.
And the stakes are pretty high, and, it's very fleeting, which, these installations are meant to be up. So it's like doing my own PR for me.
Yeah.
People tag us all the time. It gives me, like, Larkspur Botanicals, endless amounts of content. It gives our businesses that we work with endless amounts of content, because people are just tagging either, on the stories, or they're tagging your location, or they're, so it's great. And also, I'm a mom. I have 2 kids. I have a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
A lot of events for me, in the corporate space, it was like Thursday nights were always like liquor events, things like that. So, those were nights that I don't put the kids down to bed, and my husband does.
Yeah.
And weekends, they're weddings.
Yeah.
So I'm now, and it's not just like, okay, the wedding is 6 hours. No, it's a lot of prep to do it. So it's like mommy's gone pretty much all weekend.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's nicer hours. We work contractor hours essentially now.
So I have a grasp for, with your pivot and how you survive, and you're striving again, and it's going to go even better on, you kind of change your vertical, right? Like, instead of, weddings and corporate, you sold your stuff to other people in other areas, right? Which I love, but I didn't get as much. And if you could fill me in on services, I know you tweaked some things, but did you have any additional services that you had and sold into that channel that made you successful? I heard, the permanent installations, some of the design stuff, some of like the class. Give me some more of the services that you did that were exclusive to that channel, that literally spawned from C, that exclusive to you now.
Yeah. So we never really did anything with workshops beforehand.
That's awesome.
And I just felt like, and I'll be honest, workshops are not very lucrative. But
no, you don't even make any money, but you're hoping 2 or 3 of them go back and then hire you for something else, or refer you, or yeah.
Well, that's what it is. In every single workshop that I've done, there has been at least 2 people that have contacted me to do an installation. They're business owners, so they want an installation, or they know a business owner, or they post about the installations at, like, the cottage, for example, where we do the workshops. And that just generates, other people are constantly sending screenshots of other people's stories, and then contacting me like, hey, I saw this on my friend's thing. You're the artist. I want this for my hair salon. And those workshops, it just gets you in front of people. And also, like, we've been cooped up. I mean, we're all starved for, like, human interaction. There's only so many Zoom cocktails you can do.
Yeah.
And I felt like people needed to, like, have, to make a flower arrangement, to do a wreath, to, mount an air plant on a crystal, which is what we're doing this weekend at an event in Jersey City.
Oh, wow.
Gallery. Yeah. It's a Mother Earth Day event. So it's cool. So yeah, so I just feel like people need that. And, I don't know, yes, they pay for it, but it's not like incredibly lucrative, but it puts me in touch with the people who are going to spend more money.
I'm gonna ask a selfish question, and I'll get to it. You strike me as pre-C, a hustler, Instagram, organic PR, developing relationships, and we're acquiring clients. See, as a marketer, we just care about, well, really 3 things. 1, acquisition costs. What does it cost me to get a client? The second is how much they spend. And then the third is their lifetime value. And so that's why I like to do the workshops, because it seems like you appreciate the lifetime value, not the X amount of dollars for the workshop, but they could spend thousands later. So I think you have that down, right? But one of the questions I have for you is, you historically seem to acquire clients through hard work, but not necessarily paying for it. Now it's a different environment, right? You got to do some Google ads. You might do some, Instagram ads, Facebook, same crap. SEO. I don't know if you do, what I'm getting at is the dynamic to reach to those other people is a little different than going for coffee, because you can't go to coffee because there's no seats in the place. So give me your mix. Are you doing more paid media? Are you still doing some social media? Are you doing like SEO? How are you acquiring these clients? Because that's not the muscle you had before, but you did pivot and you're getting these customers. So I want to see how you're acquiring them.
Sure. So yes, I'm still doing the paid Instagram posts.
That's good.
A lot of them. and it works out well. And I feel like I've gotten I guess, I don't know, the demographics of everything and fine tuned it where I have like my, you could save them.
Correct.
So I have like my little formula. Yeah. I
Love
know.
it.
So
no, it's great.
And then I've done some advertising with like we've done a lot of work with View Magazine. We do all their events. So we've done some paid advertising for like very niche, like they had a big design issue, right? I knew there was going to be there was like 2 interior designers that I was like, they're going to be featured big time. One of them was on the cover. I had just admired her anyways. Well, I'll just say anyways, her name's Vanessa De Leon. Awesome. And I was like, gosh darn it, I need to be in that magazine. And I had all these floral flourishes that we did. So I was like, I'm going to pay and I want to do a full page ad, but I did it like, like where you make it look like an article, but it's really an advertisement.
Yeah, it's called an advertorial, correct?
Yeah, that.
Not wrong with that. But that's why like, so.
And now we do business together.
We do media buying as our company. And to me, I prefer an advertorial over an ad any day of the week, because an advertorial does tell your story. You control the narrative. It's okay if it says advertising on top or advertorial or partner or whatever. Some magazines don't. Again, everything's different. But that was the right move. So I like that, because like what happens a lot of times is when you're the person who acquires clients for free and then you got to start paying, they don't value those things as much. It looks like you value those things, and you're, instead of maybe hustle because there's nowhere to hustle because things aren't open, you at least pay to get access, and then you can monitor your return based off of that. And then worst case, you have some awareness, or you have nice assets to show other clients or share on social media. So how can we find you, Lindsey? I mean, I'll put a link to your website, but how can people find your company and see what you're about?
So if you want to see what we're up to as of yesterday, you can go on Instagram. We're at Larkspur, Lark like the bird, spur like the boot. That's how you can remember. Larkspur Botanicals.
Love it.
So that's on Instagram, and we're Facebook. I don't really do Twitter. We're too visual for Twitter. And then larkspurbotanicals.com.
Love it. I'm looking at your press section. You got a ton of press. So this is all earned press. You got this on your own?
Yeah. I've never had to hire a PR person. And I didn't get to tell anybody yet publicly. So I wanted to actually save it. So I'm going to make a little announcement.
Oh, wow. Let's shoot.
On your show here. So we're actually one of 25 florists that are going to be featured in the New York City Flower Show, which is known as LEAF. So go ahead and save the date for June 12th and 13th. It's open air in the meatpacking district. So yeah, there's going to be a lot more stuff about that out. We like literally just got signed into it. So it's going to be cool. Yeah. So
Lindsey, you are what is right about entrepreneurship. You are just right. What's right about New Jersey. And you're just right about everything that is right. And this was, we're both hustlers. It's late. I'm going to post it tonight, actually, because I want to get it out. But you're going to do great. I don't have to wish you luck, because you're going to make your own luck. And thank you for being on the New Theory podcast.
Thank you for having me so much. This has been such a good time. I'm sad that it has to end. We're going to get coffee when this is.
We're going to get coffee, and we are also going to have you on again. I'm sure of that. Definitely sure of that. So we'll speak to you, Lindsey, and thank you so much.
Okay. You too.